Yeah, no, the team will be on at 10:30, Michelle. So you can kind of start to introduce yourself, your background, any information that you have that's pertinent for us right now.
Okay.
Feel free to share that. And then once Tim comes in, we'll tap him in. He can kind of give us some updates. So my name, for those of you who don't know me, is I'm Abdimalik Buul, Dr. Abdimalik Buul, the Transfer Center Director here at San Diego City College. And we've been participating in a lot of the webinars that the UCs have been hosting, but similar to the federal response and the state responses, there seems to be a kind of a specific nuance to how each campus is implementing things. So there's the federal response, right? Each governor does their own thing. Same thing with you all. It seems like there's this, UC-wide system response, but a lot of the questions that came back were specific to each campus. And so I know the 14-unit pass no pass option was, pretty much across the board, but there were specific ones for each particular campus. So we wanted to get those nuanced questions out of the way for us, and then also what's it looking like for our spring admitted students? Is there a time frame on when they will be notified? I know there's some extensions on some of the intent to enroll fees, and also how is it looking like for those courses that are going to be impacted this semester for those upcoming year students as well? So those who are applying fall 2021, fall 2022, maybe how will that impact them? So do you have any idea of when admissions decisions are going to be rolling out for the UCs?
So for transfers, our goal is to have them sent out around the end of April. We just wrapped up our transfer review. And so now the next step is getting them sent out. So we just sent out our first year, and now transfers is going to be around April, end of April.
So you already notified your freshmen.
Yes.
And so the transfers you're anticipating in about a couple of weeks here. Okay.
So if anything, students, for the most part, again, just be patient with us. Answers are going to be delivered during the end of April. COVID has really kind of shaken a lot of things up. If you want to be aware of what's going on as far as UC San Diego has and what's going on with COVID, everything is online. You can go to our website. Actually, I have it up. It's just going to be coronavirus.ucsd.edu. And that's where you can go to actually look up any updated information. For the rest of the year, everything is going to be online, pretty much like your school is. That's pretty much what we're doing right now. We're just trying to take it one day at a time as far as what the next steps are.
And have all your services transferred to like remote? Like majority of student services are working from home. Is there discussion amongst yourselves about admission potentially going down because of this?
As far as that's for the higher ups, I know that's what they're talking about right now. There's honestly, this has people scrambling. I'm just going to be honest with you. We just really ask all our students and everybody to just be patient with us because we are there. Everybody's really trying to figure out what to do next. It's not just our university, but across the nation. We do see, at least I personally see, a change in how things look for next year, but I don't know what that is. That's just my personal opinion. But we don't want our students to worry about that. We just want you to finish strong and focus on finishing out this year as best as you can.
Is there any flexibility around transcripts? I know there's some challenges with certain institutions of getting transcripts. Some of our students have attended multiple institutions, for example. And although our transcripts, we have a kind of almost seamless process of getting that over to you all. Those that may have had prior coursework at different institutions, is there some flexibility or some latitude for their transcripts for their?
So for right now, we're just saying since we reviewed the applications, we're going based off of what the students put down, but we will request that they do send official transcripts in, and that will be around May and June. So hopefully by then, most institutions will have figured out a process, but we are still requesting that they get the transcripts in.
I have a question, Mrs. Kindlelove. I'm wondering if there's any information on how this is going to affect the admissions process coming up this fall. Is that a question for the 10:30
I mean, you could ask him that. Again, that's what the higher ups, not just our campus, but all the UC campuses and across the nation. We really don't know what this fall is going to look like. You could ask him. He has been here longer than I have. He may have a little bit more insight. But again, everything's just fluid. We really don't know what it's going to look like next year. We don't know if classes are going to be online next year. We don't know if they're going to be on campus. We don't know really what to expect. So
Okay, I mean, I was talking about the actual application process. Like I would be applying this fall for 2021.
Yes. No, we don't expect the application process to change. You would still go online and apply as regular. As far as I know, everything as far as application process is going to be the same. Yeah, we don't see that for changing anytime because that's still online.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. But I see a question here that says any flexibility with students with less than 60 units. Unfortunately, no, you really want to be at 60 units or 90 quarter units. So
There is flexibility in regards to being allowed to complete it in the summer, though, from what I recall. So if you like are in a class right now and there's challenges and issues with
yes.
Because of COVID, you may not have the laptop or resources. There was I think an extension granted to take that at least in the summer, correct?
From what I hear, I believe so, yes. But again, that might be, if you want more specific, that's going to be Tim. He's like the transfer guru.
So have y'all announced if all your courses will be in the summer or remote, at least for your
So for the end of the year, all the classes are going to be online remote. Yep.
For the end of the
even the summer, yep. That's what we're expecting.
Your spring quarter and your summer quarter, you'll officially launch will be 100% online.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, for city college, the question is, will there be more classes typically offered in summer? Our summer schedules are online, from what I understand, or should be launched online pretty soon, and everything is 100% online now. Summer, they're figuring out the lab portions out. I know one of the schools up north has announced that everything will be in the summer for online, and in the fall, like a 65%, remote option with some social distancing parameters for the lab courses. So they may have those anthro bio labs with like the 6 feet, distancing measures in place because they're expecting or anticipating that surge again in October. So schools are taking some interesting precautions. We just don't know. Things are so fluid and changing. So can you take us into the mindset of what's been some of the, like when you read these applications, what are you looking at in terms of admissions and the denials and even potential wait list?
Yeah, so transfers, honestly, if I was a student trying to get into any UC system, especially like UC San Diego, I would come in as a transfer. It's kind of very cut and dry. We're going to look at the classes specifically that you've taken. We want to make sure you've taken a well-rounded course. We want to make sure that you have your English, your college level math, your science, your some behaviorals, humanities, all that. We're going to look at the grades that you get. So 2.0 is passing, but realistically, you want to be at a 3.0 or higher. But then also, we're going to look at what have you done? So even let's say you've taken some time off, we do look at that. So please explain any gaps in education that you may have, what happened. There's no wrong answer because that is your life story. So we want to know about that. But it's very cut and dry, honestly, where you went to school, what classes you've taken, what grades you've taken. That's pretty much it. Please make it easy on us. Hopefully you've only attended maybe a couple of schools. We do see students who've attended a lot of schools. So you want to make sure you're accurate as possible because we will request your transcripts from those schools, okay?
The other thing that has been a challenge, and maybe you can give us an insight on how you view this, is that I know UC Berkeley and UCLA are very, very big on those personal insight questions. Mm-hmm. And UCSD has been, in the past, very cookie cutter dry in terms of like GPA, major prep course, preparation. Is that the case, or how much of the personal insight questions take into place versus the actual GPA and coastal?
So I would say for personal insight questions for freshmen, they weigh a lot more than the transfer ones do. We still want you to take time in answering them, but you don't have to go into as much detail as a lot of the freshmen do. The most important thing is like, what have you been doing? You know, like if, like I said, if you've had gaps, I don't care if it was like a 3-month gap. Just say I was transferring from high school to college, but some people have like a whole 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-year gap and don't explain that. And it's like, we want to know because we're going to send you emails and emails ask you, hey, what's going on? Okay. So again, we want to know what you've been doing. If you've been working, if you had a family, life happens, you're adults. So we kind of expect more from you guys. But we're not asking a lot from you, if that makes sense. Again, I would transfer in. I think it's a great opportunity to transfer into UC system versus coming straight as a freshman. You guys have half your experience out the way. You know, you kind of know what you already want, hopefully.
And you don't need a
You're already
4.5
prepared.
GPA to get in, you know, as a transfer student.
Pardon?
You don't need a 4.5 GPA.
Not necessarily. We don't need a 4.5 as a freshman either, but the requirements as a freshman are a lot more competitive and steeper. Yeah.
So you said 32% of their admissions this semester, or this upcoming year, were transfer students?
Wait, 32% were admitted as transfer students, correct?
Okay, so 68%. Okay. Out of those 32, do you know how many were local San Diego students or?
I don't know specific. Tim might know that. That's probably a good question for Tim, but I can say a lot of our transfer students are from in-state.
Okay. Well, because quite a few of our local transfer students. We have a good pipeline with UCLA.
Yeah.
But the Bay Area and LA have been funding a lot of students coming into our UCSD college here, our local college. So that's always been kind of a challenge of saying, do our local community college students have an inside track with UCSD? I know we have the U-Link program, but you know, that 40K 3.5 GPA, you're probably getting in anyways with a 3.5, depending on, major. Is there anything particular that you would recommend students to look at if they're a social behavior science major or a STEM major that you would see that would probably give them inside advantage as a transfer student?
Honestly, I would go to our page and see what classes you will need for like your major prep courses, especially if you're interested in a CAP major. You want to know what classes that you will need that are going to transfer over that qualify for those CAP classes, and also what grades you need to get. Because again, it's capped, so it's going to be competitive, and they only have certain amount of spots. So if that's what you're interested in, if that's like your top choice, you don't want to just be taking willy-nilly courses. You want to make sure like, this is a class I'm going to take, what they want from me in the grades, okay? But then also have a parallel major and plan, because you don't want to have another cap and another cap. You want to have one that's probably uncapped, not as competitive.
Okay. Perfect. What does cap and uncapped mean? Very good question. Can you explain to?
Yeah, so we have certain majors. So a lot of our specific majors like engineering, science, econ, cognitive science, I feel like math, I feel like I'm missing one. There's some that are capped, meaning they're based off of GPA, the classes that you take, and what is available for space. So those are a little bit more, I guess you want to say, competitive. That's how I look at it. And then there's some others, like a lot of our humanities and behavioral ones, and some sciences, a lot of them, and aren't. So you can just apply, and if you meet the GPA requirements, you're pretty much in. So when I say capped, it's a lot of the engineering and the sciences and the math and econ. But then you want to have, if you want to go into cap, it's best to have a backup that isn't capped.
And so we also use the term impacted as well, like our impacted. High applicant majors. He's asking about psychology, and I know there's variations of psychology. You want to specify which one, which psychology major you're referring to? If you can just give us a breakdown.
It's cognitive science. It's just cognitive and neuroscience. That's the one.
That's capped.
Yeah. So not psychology, it's the cognitive and neuroscience.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you, in your review, what are the highest amount of majors that this year that you saw people applying for?
It's usually like engineering, the CAP majors, engineering, and
Bios, engineering.
yeah, those are popular. Yeah.
Science. Okay.
Yeah.
And in those, you want majority, as long as they complete a lot of the major prep in their 7-course pattern, they typically have a decent shot at that, right?
They have a decent shot, but again, it's not up to the admissions officer at this point. It's going to be based off of the department. They make the decisions on what space is available and things like that. What the admissions officer we do is we just make sure they met the requirements, if they met the requirements or not.
So you actually screen, you look at the requirements, and you'll say, okay, based upon this, here's who we're recommending, and
Yeah.
decision. See.
Well, we are impartial. Honestly, we are just impartial. We say, did they have the major requirements? Did they take all the major requirements? Are they complete? What were the grades like? And we just pass them to them. Literally, you're impartial. We just say if they're completed or incomplete, they do it. We're impartial, and it's up to the department to. So we're just yeah.
And so who from the department makes the decisions? The chairs or?
The chairs, faculty, advise, whoever's on the decision panel, whoever they put, yeah.
She's asking what's the best website to go see articulations. The UCSD website, actually, they did a very good job when Assist was down of putting major prep on there.
Yes.
Kendall, so I'll look for the link right now. Or if you have the link, you can drop it in the chat.
Honestly, I just use Assist. Or I Google's my friend. Honestly, a lot of us, if you think admissions people, we know everything. No, we just know how to search for things. So I will literally just Google UCSD mechanical engineering or whatever. And we post everything up there. We post major prep, degree programs, advising. So we are very transparent. So again, I'm still new. I'm still learning. Assist is my best friend when it comes to like what you need and what crosses over, but we don't hide anything. Okay. So if you want to know what we're looking for, what we have, everything is available. So if you don't even know where to start, Google is your best friend. Google UCSD mechanical engineering major prep or UCSD psychology, UCSD theater. Okay. We don't hide anything. It's not a mystery, behind stuff.
Okay. So I dropped in the link, the one that we've been using, the chat room, the UCSD one. It's been kind of when we had issues in the past with our Assist being down. It was down for several years actually.
Yeah.
3-4 years it was down, and even when it came back up, it's not all the information's up, and I know that. Yeah. Some challenges with some of the articulations as well.
Yeah. Well, since I've started, I've been heavily using Assist. Like that's honestly been my crutch with transfers. So when it was down for a bit, it was kind of hard. But again, we literally put everything on our website. The schools, the departments put everything on our website. So again, we try to be very transparent.
Everyone, we have, thank you so much, Michelle. We have Timothy Bush, our Senior Admissions Director for transfer students here at UCSD. He's been working with us for quite some time. We've worked a lot in the past with Immersion special programs. He's the guru of all things UCSD. So if you can kind of give us an update, kind of a big picture COVID update. I know you just came up at a leadership meeting, so you probably have off the press information as well. So are there any specifics that we would need to know?
Of course. Well, thank you. And thank you for the opportunity again. I'm sorry we had the meeting scheduled at the last. It's so nice to be here virtually with you and with all the students from City College and the staff and faculty. We are getting used to the virtual advisement and virtual world, as I'm sure all of you are too, and it probably will be in effect for the foreseeable future at least. So the University of California is really committed to supporting students during this very difficult time. For transfer students specifically, they've suspended the limit on pass, no pass units that students can actually take for the winter term, past winter 2020, and the current spring and summer terms. So for those terms, I know a lot of the community colleges are really moving to try and do pass, no pass grading to help students to kind of get through the process. And so the university has made that commitment that that's something that is available. Now, the question we've been getting a lot last week what about major preparation coursework? Because major preparation has to be completed for a letter grade. Our Dean for Undergraduate Education is in the process of working with all the divisional leads, division deans on our campus to confirm their position on being flexible based on the COVID-19 situation. And I hope to have an update by the end of this week to be able to send out to all the community colleges what that will look like. From what I understand so far, it looks like the faculty are willing to be fairly flexible, but I don't have any final word on specific programs that are screening for major preparation, like engineering, economics, biology, some very popular majors. So hopefully I'll have some final clarification at the end of this week to be able to share out to everybody with regard to letter grades. And I know some of these situations are going to be out of students' control. And so in the summer, our office, the Office of Admissions, will be working with students, admitted students, applicants, counselors, transfer center directors to provide as much guidance and support and flexibility to the extent that we can to make sure that students are successful and they can matriculate in the fall at UC San Diego. We don't know, and I know this question has also come up, are classes going to actually be held on campus in the fall? We already know for the summer term that everything is moving online. So for students that want to take summer courses, those courses will be available online. The same with summer programs. From what I understand, all programs related to the campus at this point will be online as well. So it is a very challenging time, very unprecedented for all of us. So we're doing our best to try and support students and counselors and faculty to make sure that students are well positioned to be successful. And so those are the main COVID-19 updates that we have at this point. I guess, you know, it might be helpful if there are other specific questions or maybe just opening it up for question and answer.
So there's a question here saying, when will UCSD announce a decision about pass no pass for major prep for fall 2020, as well as future UCSD transfer applicants who take major prep for pass no pass spring and summer 2020? So one of the challenges is that similar to the federal and state responses we're seeing, there's like this one, you know, federal response, and then each governor is kind of doing their own thing. And so the UC webinars are very informational, but they kind of deferred a lot to each specific UC to do its own thing. And I'm pretty sure you guys are each deferring to each department to do its own thing. So it's very, you know, technical in that regard. But if you can provide any clarity on that major prep for the pass no pass option, that'd be great.
Well, that's just what I was talking about, actually. So hopefully by the end of this week, we'll get clarification for all the majors that require minimum major preparation screening for this cycle for the foreseeable future. Now, for long term, it will all depend. Right now, they're looking at it from a winter and spring 2020 perspective, because potentially classes will be held on campus in the fall, so that students who are still in the pipeline now would possibly have an opportunity to take classes. And presumably if classes are offered on campuses in the fall, then the pass no pass will no longer be an issue at the community colleges. But that's a presumption maybe not to make, that if classes are actually offered at the community colleges in the fall, will they continue to employ this pass no pass policy? Or will they go back to a system of sort of business as usual? That, and maybe that's a question that the community colleges can answer, but I know in the short term, they're looking at winter of 2020 and spring of 2020 major prep classes that are taken with a pass no pass specifically. And we'll definitely get clarification as this process sort of moves along, what that might look like if in fact we're all taking, you know, if the students are taking classes virtually again in the fall. But hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have clarification, especially for those applicants who have applied and are waiting for decisions, what that's going to look like for this particular cycle. And again, as soon as I get that information, I'll share it out with the TCDs, and we'll probably send out an announcement on the transfer counselor listserv as well to try and get the word out to as many people as possible. But we're waiting for official word, because in the Office of Admissions, we don't actually make those determinations. That's determined by the faculty although we've made strong recommendations for flexibility, we ultimately in the Office of Admissions don't make the call on those types of policy decisions. I hope that helps. I know people are asking for more definitive answer for right now, but again, hopefully by the end of this week, we'll have more definitive information. I'm confident that we will.
And the other question is, well, thank you for clarifying that. We all got to be patient, right, in regards to this process, because things are so fluid and changing. In regards to anybody under 60 units, is there any clarification on that? What if we were having certain students drop courses right now that are in the pipeline for being accepted? And they're like, I didn't sign up for this class online. I may not have the laptop or resources to be successful. And so is there, I know you guys are probably advocating, but we also want to advocate here for those students as well. Is there any latitude in the summer, perhaps, of retaking that class, or maybe having that class waived, they can retake it? And is there conditional acceptance in regards to that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I know the University of California Office of the President issued in their COVID-19 response that the campuses, that the university was going to be flexible with regard to meeting minimum requirements by end of spring, which include the 60 units. So there will be opportunities for students to continue taking classes in the summer. And of course, if a student is offered admission and any kind of issue comes up, advise your students to contact our office so that we can facilitate and advocate for them during this very challenging time. We want to make sure that students are successful, and we're trying to make sure that we meet our enrollment targets, just like the community colleges are meeting enrollment targets. And, we want to maintain that flexibility for a myriad of reasons, but at this particular point, there is going to be some flexibility for summer coursework for meeting minimum requirements.
Is there any flexibility in regards to transcripts? I know some of our students attend multiple institutions. I know you guys have that extension, but there are certain transcripts that, not all institutions have moved remotely. You can't call and have the accessibility in the past that we've had. Is there any flexibility in regards from your department, with our students and access to transcripts?
Absolutely, and I'll send out a link to the COVID-19 UC Office of the President response, but it does address that students will have up until the first day of class to submit official transcripts. So the usual deadline is July 1st, but the university is allowing for students to get those final official transcripts in by the first day of instruction without penalty of having their admission rescinded. So if a student is offered admission, again, we're hoping to notify all students by the end of this month. If a student can't get their official transcripts in by July 1st, they should still contact us. But we will note that there's going to be flexibility with regard to those final transcripts.
And the first day of class as in fall 2020?
Yes. So that's usually the third week in September.
Perfect. Wow, that's major. That's some excellent flexibility there.
It helps the student, once we get the official transcripts, we can post coursework, because without posting coursework, students may not be able to register for classes. So it is really important that we get those official transcripts, but their admission won't be rescinded if we don't get those transcripts until the first day of class in September.
That's great news. Yeah, looking at the comments here.
I have a question, actually. I noticed there's a lot of transfer center directors, and I see PJ and everybody else. And are all the community colleges, has it been confirmed that for this entire spring term that instruction will be online and everybody will be working remotely? Has that been confirmed, or is that still up in the air?
So for us at City College, it's spring and summer.
Spring and summer.
We confirmed all our courses on summer online. I think I can speak for Barbara and for Mason and Miramar that we're the same. Let me unmute PJ and see what she has to say.
Cuyamaca, hi Timothy. Cuyamaca, same. Spring and summer is online.
Okay. And working remotely, instruction is okay.
Yes, instruction is online.
Instruction. And what about students on campus? Are students, is the campus basically closed? Your campuses are closed? Students are not? Okay.
Yes. Not just students. I believe no one is allowed except for there's like a few essential people who can access campus once in a while. We have someone who goes, like a director of admissions goes once every 2 weeks to submit transcripts.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to contact campus police for even to access anything from your office. I want to bring in PJ, unmuted here from Palomar.
Yes, Palomar is planning on online through the summer. No decisions yet on the fall. I do not think we have any decisions as far as our working environment. Right now, I would anticipate at least through the spring that we'll be working remotely. I don't know what's going to happen after that, but classes are definitely going to be online for the summer.
And this is Barbara from Miramar, and I actually have Nicholas Wynn from Southwestern College on a different computer in a different meeting, our transfer center director meeting. He has confirmed that both spring as well as summer, Nicholas, will be online at Southwestern, and they're also working remotely.
Okay. That's basically how it is at UC San Diego right now and across the UC system.
At Grossmont, we're also working remotely through, I believe, June 1st at least. And then classes are online only for spring and summer. No decisions about fall yet.
I have a question, Timothy. This is Barbara
Yes.
from Miramar.
Yes.
So I know you said by the week's end, you're hoping to get a decision. Do you anticipate that it's going to be a like major by major kind of decision, that there may be some majors that are going to be good with pass, no pass, and others that will still need the major prep? And if that's the case, what is your sense so far about which types of majors will be, students will need to, really try to stick it out with the letter grade?
It's a good question. From the preliminary responses that I've been made aware of, seems to be support for flexibility. I'm not aware of any specifically right now that have said that they're not. So again, I'll have to provide an update when that information becomes available later this week. But I'm hopeful that the departments understand. And of course, as a process we always have is if a student gets admitted and they don't satisfy the requirements, the provisions for admission, there's always an appeal process on the back end. And that would be something we would take care of later. And, the Office of Admissions reviews those types of cases. And I can assure you that we're going to be advocating for students to the extent that we can. But I would say for your students right now, I would say let's wait until we get clarification. It'll be department by department, division by division, actually. So different departments are within a division, physical sciences, arts and humanities. So we'll be getting that information from the divisional deans, hopefully in the next couple of days. I do want to also point out that admissions officers are going to be available for virtual advising for individual student appointments. We've already started that. We started that last week for general advising, and we're going to be specifically tailoring some for specific transfer community college students. So I'll send out more information to the TCDs as that becomes available. But even right now, we are seeing some of the transfer students take advantage of these virtual advising appointments by logging onto our website under the Connect section. There's a virtual advising tab, but we'll also be incorporating some evening and weekend sessions as well for students who might not otherwise have flexibility during the week or whatever the case might be. So during this period, admissions officers will be available, and not just via email. It'll be virtual advising through Slate, where there's a camera, there's a video, there's audio, there's a way to text information, communicate as well. And so we're really hopeful that students will meet us there because we want to provide as much advisement as we can.
Thank you.
So the other question is I know there's been some latitude in regards to the intent to enroll. How far is that extended now?
That's a great question. Those cases are reviewed on a case-by-case basis. There's not like a blanket statement that's been made, like the transcript issue where transcripts will be accepted up until the first day of class. But if the student is having a hard time for whatever reason, making that decision by June the 1st, they should contact our office, and our office is reviewing those requests for submitting a late accept your offer on a case-by-case basis, and they're being very flexible. With regard to first-year students, their notification went out already, and so our campus is reviewing those. And then when transfer decisions get released later this month, then that will also hold true for transfer students as well.
Okay. And then how
won't have to pay, oh, I'm sorry, I was going to say many students won't have to pay the $250 deposit if they were approved for a application fee waiver when they submitted their application. I know that question comes up a lot, and that $250 is actually not additional monies. It's actually money toward the tuition. But if a student did qualify for the fee waiver on the front end, they won't have to pay that $250 before they start.
Perfect. Thanks for clarifying that. That's pretty much it. You know, the housing, the transfer housing projects, has that kind of taken a pause now, or with construction, or?
Well, the construction, I haven't been on campus for a little while, so honestly, I'm not sure if construction has stopped, but on-campus housing will be available, all things being equal, on-campus housing will be available for transfer students in the fall. Transfer students would still be living at the village in the fall, even though the village is being transferred over, it's going to be the house for 7th College. It's going to be the home for 7th College, but there'll be plenty of bed space for incoming transfer students as well. Where it will affect transfer students for new housing will be the next cycle. That's when they're expected to have those new apartments ready to go. And I'll check in to see if there's an update on the construction on the campus, and I'll make sure to communicate that to the TCDs as well. But from what I understand, there hasn't been any halting to major construction projects that I'm aware of.
Understood. And some of these last questions are, I think, what you covered a little bit earlier, that grace period in the summer to repeat anything that that you may have missed in the spring because of the transition, right? So students weren't, you know,
those minimum requirements in the summer, having those 60 units and the major preparation. It's interesting, the Office of the President did not confirm that major preparation classes could be finished in the summer. It's only the minimum requirements of the 60 units. But again, as I mentioned earlier, you know, if a student is offered admission and they don't satisfy their provisions of admission, there's always an appeal process where they can explain what happened. I think this year more than ever before, our campus is really going to be listening and hearing what some of those reasons are. And a lot of these situations are going to be out of people's control. And so the campus is really going to be committed to supporting students when situations that come up that are completely out of their control.
Okay. And I appreciate you clarifying the 60 unit minimum requirement GE as opposed to the major prep, because people say, oh, you know, it's okay if you weren't comfortable taking that class, just take it again in the summer. Thank you for clarifying that. Do you know, probably at the end of the week, we're going to find out, right? If that's the major prep, UCSD is going to be in that waiver?
That pass, no pass, that's the issue. So they should be hopefully taking it, even though if it's online. Mm-hmm. That's going to be, again, that'll be one of those situations. If a student is admitted, they'll have to appeal if their admission is revoked. But the 60 units can definitely be completed throughout the summertime.
Timothy, I have a question. This is Barbara again. So is it just the 60 units that students can complete in the summer? I think I remember from the webinar on Wednesday that 7 course patterns still had to be completed by the end of spring. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. And I'll double check the website. In fact, let me see if I can pull it up right now. And again, you know, with that being said, again, you know, understanding the flexibility and the situation is very fluid. And I mean, there very well could be another announcement that comes out that talks about additional things. So on the UCOP website, it says, so long as students meet the minimum admission requirements by the time they enter UC in the fall, which includes the 60 units and the 7 course pattern. So from the website that UCOP has put up, Barbara and everybody else, it indicates that it's the 60 units and completion of the 7 course pattern.
Okay.
That's That's not major prep. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Timothy. Really appreciate you coming on here and doing this virtual update with our students and some of our counseling faculty. There's a couple student questions that I did receive, but those are better suited for email because they're very specific. So I'll reroute those to you and Michelle via email, and they can probably get on those virtual appointments with Michelle. So thank you again for doing this. We appreciate you for getting us the latest and greatest information possible. And we look forward to connecting with you and getting more updates as the things progress. And so everyone out there, please stay home, stay safe.
Yes.
We'll get through this. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity. And I want to just close in saying we will do a transition forum virtually, probably sometime in June. So more information to follow, and we'll, you know, I'll be providing any kind of major updates as well as they become available. I'll send them via email.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody. Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.